So we speak to Michael Orrett, and it's for one of two people. Either A, you're interested in Toastmasters and competing at the highest level and winning, or B, you want to improve your comedy or your delivery of jokes, whether it's on stage or in a group of people. He is one of my good friends. He's an amazing guy, very humble, a fantastic father. And what you're going to be able to learn from him is somebody that has competed where they take the top 10 of thousands and thousands and thousands of speakers from all across Toronto, and they condense them into this small group of people that will compete at the highest level, and he's won consistently over and over and over again. If those are the types of insights that you're looking for, this show is for you. This is I Will Teach You to Speak. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, John.
All right. I know you as a family man, someone that's incredibly talented at public speaking, but extremely humble. I want everyone to get to know you on that personal level as well. And so can you start off by telling us the story of your son's violin recital? Because I've seen you do it on stage and it was hilarious. Everyone loved it. And I think that's a great way to let everyone get to know you.
Okay, so the speech I did at Speaker Slam was called Death by Violin. And it was about my son's violin recital that I didn't want to go to. And when I entered the room, I noticed the music instructor was taking it too seriously. Like he thought he was directing the Toronto Symphony Orchestra. I saw the parents scattered around. I was reading the room, and we're on the west end of town, and classical music's not that very popular around here. So I was just taking notes. I was just reading the atmosphere. Parents were scattered, and the kids were playing terribly. And I just compiled all of that to just be real and said, you know what, this is going to be a great speech. And by the time the thing was over, I think I had the whole speech written. It just had to be assembled. And I never had a title for it. The title was the last thing that I actually thought of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
And it just came together naturally. And I'm like, this is the one. I'm going to do this. It was like a hit because it just felt like a very comfortable speech. And I knew I liked it. So once I like it, I'll do it. And it's up to the audience to decide if they like it. And people received it well.
That's awesome. So that was the Speaker Slam speech, and that's the one you won, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you came first, and now for those that don't know you again, you came first at Speaker Slam, and then you have a ton of Toastmasters accolades that people would be so many people desire to be at the level that you've competed at and won at. So I want to start off for those people that want to compete, or those people that need to understand, how can they be the best of the best? Not just good, because it's okay to be a good speaker, but when you're winning the district level contests over and over and over again, and you're winning Speaker Slam, you're the best of the best. So what separates those people that are just good and then the best of the best? And I know you're a humble guy, and so feel free to just tell us what you need to tell us here.
I'm gonna keep it a buck. The first thing is, the first humorous speech contest I won in 2012, I want to say 2012. That one I went into pretty much blind because I just put my hat in the ring to compete, and I just kept advancing through each round, and I didn't know if I was going to make it, but I just didn't care. Like, I honestly didn't care. I didn't care about winning. I didn't care about losing. I just wanted to do it. So there was that freedom of not caring, not wanting to win. And I think that's the first thing, because that pressure of wanting to win, sometimes it messes with you when you're drawn first to go, right?
Okay.
Or you're drawn last. So now you're like, oh my gosh, I got to go out with a bang. Or if you go first, you have to set the bar. So if you really believe in your content and you want to separate yourself from everybody else, you have to not care about what position you come in. Some people are so concerned because they're trying to ride the momentum from the last round to say, I want to come in first again. You have to not care. I don't know how to say it. Like, you have to have nothing to lose.
I hear you. Yeah, because if you're focused too much on the outcome, you need to separate yourself from the outcome so that
Yes,
you can just bring the relaxed self that wrote the speech, the relaxed self that practiced the speech, and the relaxed self that's going to be the one that's going to deliver the best performance.
correct. Because when I joined Toastmasters to become a better speaker, I never joined to win contests. That was just a byproduct.
Mm.
And I just enjoyed the moment in 2012, and that just made it easier to compete because I didn't care. I didn't care if you gave me the third. I just enjoyed being up there, and for some reason, you know, it resonated with people. In
Okay.
2013, I won the humorous speech contest in District 60 in '86. But for that, it was the same thing. It was a new district for me, so no one knew
Mm-hmm.
me there.
Mm-hmm.
So I basically had a clean slate. I had no reputation, and the same thing. I just didn't care, and I went for it. And the funny thing is, I didn't care even more because only people in my club knew at the time. But when I won the division contest, I was working at Loblaw's head office, and the day after I won the division contest, I got fired.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was riding this high, like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And then the next day, bam, they let me go. And for 2 weeks, I had to just sit there and just like, because two things are going on. It's like in 2 weeks, you have this contest, right, to go to international. But at the same time, you got to look for a job.
Yeah.
And it was the weirdest moment because you're torn between, man, it's on one hand, you have this thing you love, but you gotta handle your business. I mean, you have
Yes.
kids to take care of, you have bills to pay. And
Yes.
it was this moment where like, uh, sorry, it wasn't a humor. Sorry, it was the international. It was the international speech contest. I came in second. That's when I got let go, right?
Okay.
And I came in second in that contest, but I think I finished that high because again I didn't care because I had nothing to lose. There was nothing
Yeah,
at,
you
at
were
the end of the day.
outcome independent. You weren't dependent on the outcome.
Correct. And it's something that I've always remembered to do because I fell victim to it a few times. It's you don't speak from your ego, right? Just speak freely. Don't try to speak based on something you've achieved in the past or what don't let the commentary of the audience or people get in your head. You have to speak from a place of like freedom and realness. And I'll give you a tip. One thing that helps you do that is exposing yourself, getting naked on stage. And what I mean by that is, you remember when we were at Speaker Slam, and when we were competing, and I did the speech about like me smoking weed and whatnot,
Yes.
right? Now, in a corporate environment, that might not be the most appropriate content, but I started to add content like that in my speech to show vulnerability in order to keep yourself vulnerable. The same way that when you did your speech about um, competing in the trampoline competitions, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then being caught up in a rut of depression and just getting high. Those things, that information, that intimate information about yourself always keeps you at this level of humility where you don't rely on your ego as much when you're on stage, right? So the same way when you started off the podcast talking about where you're at, you had a recent breakup. Don't revealing that information about you. I mean, there could be TMI, like too much information, but revealing some of those intimate details about yourself, it helps get you a little bit naked in front of the audience, where you're not talking down to them and you're not talking them from a plateau to say, hey, look at me, I've arrived. You're like, hey, I have struggles too. I don't
Yes.
have all the answers. I don't know where I'm going right now. And that sort of helps keep you in a place where you could deliver the message from a more pure standpoint.
Okay. Yeah, no, I appreciate the angle you took there, because that's a very like mindset and like in the clouds, high level perspective, more strategy. And
Hmm.
now I'm curious if we could dive in a little bit into some of the tactics. So let's say, as an example, I'm on stage.
Hmm.
You're outcome independent. It doesn't matter whether you win or lose. Let's say maybe even you're getting paid to do this presentation. There's no real winning. You're already there.
Hmm.
If you've got punchlines to deliver or you're crafting jokes, do you have any tips on either the delivery? And this is a lot of questions, so you could choose where you want to go. Either the delivery, the creation of the joke, or like the timing or anything like that of actually being humorous on stage. Because I have very little humor. The last week at Toastmasters, I had one joke, and it was because there was a guy in the audience whose name was also Jonathan, and I said, "You got the best name in the club," and everyone laughed. And like that's the only humor that I have. So for people like me that really want to improve, do you have any tactical takeaways that I could just start to implement immediately, or were you always just hilarious?
No, humor was actually my weakest point.
Okay, so there's hope.
Yeah, I was more just a technical guy. Like I like to let spew information. But by the time I reached my ninth speech, the crowd they're like, "All right, yeah, you could teach us stuff, but we wanna laugh. It's our lunch break. Like give us a break."
Cool.
The first is when you're telling a joke, you want to have attitude. Attitude is everything when it comes to comedy. It's not even how much about the punchline and as much about the build up as much as your attitude. You notice a comedian will get on stage and his demeanor be like, "What's up with y'all tonight?" And everybody starts laughing because he's bought into it. Like his attitude, his demeanor is it.
Okay.
One of my favorite comedians, Jim Carrey. Like, look how he carries himself. Just his whole character is just funny, and he hasn't said a word yet.
Yes.
So the first key is attitude.
Okay.
I often tell speakers in my club, whenever they tell a joke for the joke of the day, they tell it so monotone.
Yeah.
And it's not like they're trying to be dry. They just don't own it. They don't
Okay.
add details. They don't embellish the points. And it's just that. Start with one. You have to start by get a joke off the internet and see how many ways you could tell that joke. Like, see how many different points you could emphasize. See how many points you could emphasize, and see how many different ways you could twist it. Because many times people tell a joke like, why did the chicken cross the road just to get to the other side? And it's like, okay, well, and someone could add and say, hey, why did the chicken
Okay.
cross the road? Like, just a different approach.
Yeah. Different
So
timing, different styles, different delivery, different eye contact. Like you can just gel and mesh with it.
yes, and the next thing is when you work your way up to getting that laughter, you have to. This is why pausing is so important when you're on stage, because pausing is not just about transitioning and about giving the audience a chance to digest the information. Pausing is also a chance for you to allow the laughter to sit with the audience.
Yes.
So you tell a joke, the audience is laughing, you keep talking,
Mm.
they're not understanding you, and everything's lost in communication. You
Okay.
have to be able to tell the joke, let them laugh, and let that laughter sort of ride and die down,
Okay.
then continue.
Yeah. We have a
It'll
mentor in our club that says, don't step on your own jokes.
correct,
Okay.
correct. Just a competition tip though. When you incorporate laughter into your speech, it does eat up your time.
Yes.
It does eat up your time. So if you're telling jokes and the audience is laughing and laughing and laughing, they could laugh you into disqualification, right?
Mm.
So you want to make sure that you have them laugh and let it ride, but account for that. So if you wrote 5 minutes worth of material and there's, let's say, a minute worth of laughter, well, you're already at the 6 minute point,
Okay.
right? So you already, and you have to account for that in your speech. If they don't laugh, well, you got more time to speak.
Okay. Got it. So that's great. So we're talking about bringing attitude, experimenting with different styles of delivery. Then you said, don't laugh, don't step on your own jokes, give it time to ride the wave, so to speak, in your humor. Is there any other tips on
Yeah.
delivery?
Early on, I used to speak from paper, so I used to write a speech and recite it verbatim.
Yep.
And what that prevented me from doing was being liquid. So if something may happen in the room, I couldn't incorporate it because I was so stuck to my script.
Mm.
So when you write your speech and you have a little bit of leeway, you have different ways you could say your speech. So let's say I was supposed to, I asked you about your life story. There's a million ways you could tell your life story, correct?
Yes.
You could tell it from you can start anywhere. You want to have your material not memorized, but you want to be familiar with your material the same way. So if something happens in the room, let's say the bartender threw up on the bar, you could, incorporate it in your speech or something along those lines. Like there's always funny things that happen with the microphone during the meeting. The DJ may be playing, the wrong music all night. And sometimes you could play on that, and it may trigger the audience, and it may show them that, hey, you're paying attention, you're really engaged right now. So you want to maintain that that fluidity, that liquid in your material. Don't be like a train on the tracks. I want
Okay.
to say, don't don't recite everything verbatim from paper. Have some leeway and try it at the club level. Try it at the club level. Whenever you're a Toastmaster and you give your opening toast, right? As the meeting goes on, start ad-libbing things that people may come up and they say, "Hey, Bob, that's a nice plaid shirt you're wearing. You know,
Mm.
did you get it at the discount rack at Walmart? What, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I wore this Nike shirt once to a club, and the other guy was one of our other members was wearing like a sweatsuit. I'm like, yeah, we're Nike brothers. Just we just incorporate different things. So that's what happens when you stay liquid. When you're not stuck to the script, you could embed different things that happen in real time, and it's pretty neat.
Yeah, let's do this, Michael, because that transitions really nicely into the next point, which is how do you prepare these days versus how you used to prepare and what you prefer now? Because if you're saying, as an example, you prepare so hard verbatim, buy the books, and then you can't be as fluid and liquid versus now, what do you do?
Okay, so yeah, before I used to write the script and then just run with it. Now what I do is I try to remember the idea and see how many ways I could speak to that idea. So realistically, I'll write, let's say, 50% of the speech, and then I'll start reciting the speech. And while I'm reciting the speech, it writes itself.
Okay.
Because I'll say, hey, that line sounds dumb. That line sounded great when I wrote it, but now it sounds stupid now that I said it. What was I thinking?
Okay.
Right? And things may happen. For example, the sound effect I was making,
Yes.
during the Death by Violin, I never thought about that until I recited it like the 30th time.
Oh,
And
wow.
I'm like, hey, that could work. And it was risky. I'm like, this sounds bad right now. But my son was laughing at it, and I'm like, okay, he likes it. So, he understands what I'm trying to do.
Yes.
So I no longer write the entire script. I write half of the script, and then I recite it and work it out that way. Another thing is the things I do try to memorize is any quotes
Yes.
or statistics.
Yep.
You can't really play with those. Yeah, but quotes and statistics I try to remember to the T. And now because I'm on that ACG level,
And for
I
those
go
that
to the
don't know, Advanced Communicator Gold, he's one step away from being at the very end of the Toastmasters speaking curriculum.
correct. So now, like, to newer members, it seems like you're on this higher level or whatnot. But now I'll just write like 50% of my speech and just go into the club and just do it and let them
Say
work
whatever
it
you
out for
want.
me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and like, so I'll write 50% of the speech. I'll do it. It'll be not polished, but it'll be like understandable.
Yeah.
And then I'll take their feedback and their evaluations and just complete it that way. I'm no longer going to be stuck to the script unless it's like totally necessary.
Okay, Michael. And the goal of this podcast, this show, is to be really useful for people. So let me ask you this. Because you're a decade in and you're a talented speaker and you've won tons of contests, do you feel that type of preparation is actually going to be useful for everybody, or people that are just starting off? Does it make more sense to be memorizing the whole presentation?
For people starting off, I think it is. You can start off memorizing, I would say, because anything that gets you away from paper.
Okay.
There's people that are good memorizers that I don't know if you've seen some of these like self-help conferences, and you'll see them do the same sort of presentation in 9 cities,
Yep.
and you're like, hey, because it's so well rehearsed, it seems natural.
Yes.
And I would prefer that than paper. Paper kind of gives away that, hey, you're not fully prepared.
Yeah.
Like, this
You're
is
not
not
polished.
coming 100. Yeah. So if you memorize it and it's in your mind and you don't need paper, fine. Because when you're free from paper, your arms are open to gestures. You
Yes.
now could roam the stage, right? And you don't have that nervousness when you're holding the piece of paper and it's like jiggling all over the place. For the style I do now, where you write a portion of it and then sort of freestyle the rest, let's say. That works more in a corporate environment when you're
Okay.
speaking more regularly, because you don't have the luxury of sitting down and polishing it.
Yes.
If you're speaking to business people, board members, you're traveling, you're in politics, you're in anything professional, you don't have the luxury of, you see, politicians get written speeches all the time,
Mm.
right? They can't, polish it and recite it. So you have to sort of just know what you want to say and be concise about it, and just speak to the idea, not so much
Well,
the script.
one last thing I'm curious about from a preparation perspective. When you were getting ready for the Grand Slam competition, I saw you posting videos on Facebook, like calling me out while you were exercising, and you like made these montage clips, and it was like, yo, Jonathan, you ready for Speaker Slam? And is exercise always part of your speaker prep, or was it just you were trying to really psych yourself up for that contest?
It is. It is. Hell yeah. Michael
Okay.
Orrett is a gym rat. No, I became a gym rat after, I want to say, I think 4 years ago. I was overweight, man. If you go on my Facebook and look at my old pictures, man, I was crazy overweight. And yeah, I was speaking well, but uh, I didn't feel good as a person for myself. Like I wasn't feeling healthy at all. So I that's the speech I did. I incorporated the speech that I did for the District 60 speech contest. Didn't place, but I will go again.
Okay.
Uh, no, but what I do is, see, I'm a 5 a.m. hustle guy too, right?
Yes.
So I'll get up early in the morning, I'll go for a run, and I'll sprint like right. And when I'm sprint at the end of my sprint, when I'm winded, then I start reciting my lines,
Oh, wow.
because it simulates nervousness. You know, when you're nervous, you could hardly get the words out of your mouth.
Yes.
It's similar to after you come off a sprint and you're trying to talk, and your lungs are like, no, no, I can't. And it's helped with my projection, right?
Okay.
Because I like doing my cardio work, I like doing my weight work, and I sort of have a love more for working out than I do public speaking. Just because working out, you get the result immediately,
Yes.
but I incorporate the two. I look dumb in the morning, man. I tell you how many mornings, especially for the last international speech contest I did for District 60. I mean, for mornings I was up running on the sidewalk and then reciting my speech, and people are looking at me like, what the heck's wrong with this guy? But
Okay.
yeah, I didn't care. Like, you make the public your audience, right?
Hmm.
I'll just come and say, when I threw that weight loss idea into the ocean of incomplete dreams, just go off in public, like in the morning. So that's part of my preparation. I like the gym work, and also the push. You work out as well, and you know that there's always that point where you could do more,
Hmm.
but you don't want to do more, and you have to push yourself to do more. That's what it's like competing, because when you win at the area level and the division level, you're doing the same material, and you're like, man, how am I going to spice it up again? How could I make one final push? How could I make this material fresh again? And it's that character that you build up in the gym that's going to actually carry over, for me anyway, onto the stage. So it's something that I always do. Like I love working out.
Hmm. What I love about that advice, it's great advice. Just the fact that you're promoting health is fantastic. The other thing I like about that is that not only will being healthy and strong prepare you for public speaking, but it's ubiquitous. It's going to support you in whatever career decisions you make, in your relationships. It doesn't matter. And so great advocacy there for being healthy. I appreciate that.
Oh, for sure.
Last thing I'm curious about before we go ahead and close this off is anything that's on your heart right now, or any parting wisdom that you want to share, whether it's in your public speaking experience, as a father, things you've learned from mentors, from coaches, from teachers. I want to give you the space, because sometimes I feel like my questions may limit the potential answers of a guest, and I just want to have an open forum. If there's anything on your heart you want to share, Michael, go ahead and do that.
Well, there's a few things. I'm gonna keep
Okay.
it up. Fuck. Okay. I'm gonna be real. You know, on the Toastmasters side of things, like the competing could be a blood sport.
Okay.
We're there to encourage each other, but don't get it twisted. Like, I've had some really mean things said to me after I won some of these contests, man.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie to you. And I'm
There's
like,
a dark
what?
side to Toastmasters too, everybody.
There is a little bit of a dark side because people have put a lot of time into it, and each club is like a gang. And if you're not familiar with people, they say there's little comments, man. People could be really mean,
Okay.
in Toast. So I'm just saying that just so no one gets discouraged from competing if they win a contest and someone says, hey, well, I thought that speech was blah, blah, don't get discouraged. It's a
Okay.
part of the game,
Okay.
right? It's no different from an athlete going to another city and the fans heckling him.
Absolutely.
That's one. About the jokes, when you tell jokes, the safe thing to do is to make the jokes about you or
Mm-hmm.
anything related to you. I call it the three layers of you, right? So you want the joke to, if you want to play it safe, you want the joke to be about yourself. So either yourself, people
Okay.
related to you, like your family,
Yep.
your ethnicity, your country, things that are related to you. It gets more broader as you go further from yourself.
Yep.
But notice that the death violin speech, it was about myself and my son.
Yes.
I didn't make fun of any other groups. I didn't make fun of anybody else, because if you do those jokes, and you could run the risk of offending somebody, right? We're at a nightclub. People are drinking. You may say a joke about an ethnicity. The guy could be under his liquor and may get mad
Mm-hmm.
and throw something at you. So you play it safe when you try to make the joke about you or something that you've experienced or people are close to you. Because you have to be careful now, especially nowadays with jokes. A lot of people have lost jobs and endorsements because of jokes they made on Twitter.
Yes.
Right? We've seen that. So be mindful of your content, and lastly, just take the risks. If it's a good risk and you think the material, if you believe in the material but you don't know if the fan will accept it, then you know what? Go to your Toastmasters club, test the material with your club, and if they like it, if they chuckle at the club in a larger audience, they will howl.
Okay. I
Yeah,
like that. If they
the laugh.
chuckle in a small group, they'll howl in a big group.
Yes, the laugh always multiplies the larger the crowd is. So if I tell a joke and one person laughs in that audience, like one person's like, oh my gosh, then I know that if I take it to the next level, 10-20% of those people are gonna laugh.
Okay.
So don't give up on your material. And people listen differently. Uh, but all in all, John, I like what you're doing. I think that this is a great forum that you set up. And I look forward to other speakers that you bring on, and hopefully that people can learn from this. Because I'm all about I'm all about giving. As much as I like to give speeches, I like to hear them as well.
Mm-hmm.
So while I'm falling back, working out, developing myself, raising these
Raising your
kids,
kids. Yeah.
raising these kids. Um, I hope I hope better speakers come along, because over the years in Toastmasters, I received a lot of encouragement. Don't get me wrong, but I did receive some discouragement as well, right? And I want to be one of those people to encourage people to be better speakers, for whatever reason, whether it's personal development or to move ahead in their career, whatever it is.
Awesome, Michael. Hey, well, thank you for spreading positivity and for wanting us to win. Thank you for telling us and reminding us that we need to tell jokes responsibly. And
Yes.
thank you for being a great friend and an awesome brother. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate everything you're up to. I'm really excited to hear about your new child. Congratulations. I know you're an amazing father, so they're in good
Thank you
hands.
so much.
Thanks for being on the
Yeah.
show. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, man. Anytime.